My wife just told me she's pregnant. I smiled, hugged her, and told her I was the happiest man alive. But here's what she doesn't know. I got my test results back 4 days ago. I'm completely sterile. There's no possible way that baby is mine. So I decided to play along for the entire 9 months, and what I did on the day she went into labor. You won't believe it. Before I go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me, where are you watching from? I'm Albert, 38 years old, and I work as a financial analyst at one of the top consulting firms in the city. I'm good at my job, really good. I build models, analyze data, find patterns in numbers that other people miss. I'm the sole breadwinner in my marriage to Natalie, who's 33. We've been together for 5 years total, 3 years dating, 2 years married. And up until about a year ago, I thought we had a pretty solid relationship. Then Natalie decided she wanted a baby. Not we decided, she decided. And she pushed for it hard. At first, I wasn't sure. I mean, I'm comfortable financially, but bringing a kid into the world is a massive responsibility. But Natalie was insistent, and I loved her, so I agreed. Let's start trying, I said. And we did. That's when everything changed. The first few months were fine. Normal. We were optimistic, excited even. But as the months wore on and nothing happened, Natalie started to change. She became cold, distant, and then cruel. Every month when the test came back negative, she'd look at me with this expression of disgust. Like I was somehow less than. Maybe if you were more of a man, she said once, just like that, standing in our bathroom holding a pregnancy test with a single line. I remember the words hitting me like a slap. All my friends are getting pregnant. What's wrong with you? I took it. I took all of it. The harsh comments, the comparisons to other men she knew, the cold shoulders. I told myself she was just disappointed, that she was processing her grief about not getting pregnant. I thought if we could just have a baby, she'd go back to being the woman I married. The warm, funny, kind woman I'd fallen in love with. But month after month, it didn't happen. And month after month, Natalie got meaner. She'd make comments about my performance. She'd suggest maybe I should try harder. She stopped being affectionate except when we were actively trying to conceive. The rest of the time, she barely touched me. The mental toll was crushing. I started waking up at 3 in the morning, lying there in the dark, wondering what was wrong with me. I began to believe what she was implying, that I was failing at something fundamental. That I was somehow broken. After a year of this, I couldn't take it anymore. Not emotionally. I needed to know if there was actually something wrong with me, or if it was just bad luck. So I made an appointment with Dr. Martinez. I got tested. The doctor's office had that antiseptic smell mixed with something floral they probably spray to make people feel better. It doesn't work. I sat in the examination room staring at a generic landscape painting, and when Dr. Martinez walked in with that sympathetic look on his face, I already knew it was bad news. Albert, I'm sorry, he said, sitting down. The test results show you're completely sterile. There's no chance of natural conception. The words landed like a bomb. I sat there, numb, while he explained the details. Something about low motility, abnormal morphology, basically every metric was wrong. It wasn't something that developed recently. I'd probably been sterile my whole life. I walked out of that office feeling like my world had collapsed. Even though having a baby hadn't been my idea originally, I'd started wanting it. I'd started dreaming about being a father, teaching my kid to ride a bike, reading bedtime stories. And now I knew it would never happen. Not naturally, anyway. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was knowing I'd have to tell Natalie. She'd already been so cruel when she thought it was just bad luck. What would she do when she found out it was permanent? That I was the reason we'd never have kids? I spent 4 days trying to work up the courage to tell her. 4 days of carrying this secret like a stone in my chest. I was terrified. Part of me thought she'd leave me. And honestly, part of me thought I deserve it. I'd internalized her cruelty so deeply that I believed being sterile made me less worthy of love. On day 4, I woke up and decided today was the day. I'd tell her after breakfast. I had the words planned out. I'd practiced them. But before I could say anything, Natalie came into the living room where I was reading. Her face was glowing. Actually glowing. She had this smile I hadn't seen in months. Baby, she said, taking both my hands. I have the most amazing news. The best news. We did it. I'm pregnant. Time stopped. I sat there holding her hands, feeling her excitement, and my brain was trying to process what she'd just said. Pregnant. She was pregnant. But I was sterile. Dr. Martinez had been very clear. There was 0 chance of natural conception. Which meant only one thing. This baby wasn't mine. My wife was cheating on me. The realization hit in stages. First denial, maybe the test was wrong. Then logic, no, the doctor had been thorough. Then cold, mathematical certainty. I work with probabilities for a living. The probability of a lab error was minuscule. The probability of a miracle conception when you're completely sterile was 0. Which left only one explanation. That's incredible, I heard myself say. My voice sounded normal. My face must have looked normal too, because Natalie threw her arms around me and started crying happy tears. I can't believe it, she said. After everything. We're going to be parents. I hugged her back. I said all the right things. And my mind raced through the implications. She couldn't have afforded artificial insemination without me knowing. I managed all our finances. She would have needed thousands of dollars. Which meant this was an affair. She was having an affair, and now she was pregnant with someone else's baby. That night, I lay awake next to her, my mind calculating. Who was the father? How long had this been going on? And what was I going to do about it? The next morning, I called Dr. Martinez's office. I needed to be absolutely certain. I needed to eliminate any possibility that this was some medical miracle. I got retested that afternoon. 2 days later, the results came back. Same answer. If anything, more definitive. I was completely, irreversibly sterile. There was no possible way I was the father. I sat in my car in the parking lot, gripping the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to drive home immediately and confront her. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the analyst in me. You need complete data before making major decisions. Or maybe it was the part of me that had been humiliated for a year and wanted more than just truth. I wanted to understand the full picture. Because the timing seemed too calculated. She'd pushed so hard for a baby, become cruel when it wasn't happening, and now suddenly she was pregnant? While I'd been sterile the whole time? This wasn't just an affair. This was planned. So I made a decision right there in that parking lot. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to let her think her plan, whatever it was working. And I was going to use the time to figure out exactly what she was up to. Natalie had already scheduled a pregnancy announcement party for the following Saturday. She'd made a guest list, ordered decorations, planned everything. She wanted to tell everyone, our families, friends, neighbors. She was so excited. I saw it as an opportunity. Whoever the father was, he'd probably be there. And I'd be watching. The party arrived. Our house filled with people. My parents, my brother Christopher, Natalie's parents George and Linda, friends, neighbors, co-workers. Everyone was congratulating us, talking about babies, asking when we were due. I played the excited father-to-be perfectly. Shook hands, made jokes about not knowing anything about diapers. And I watched. I watched every interaction Natalie had, looking for signs. Looking for the moment when something would click. Then Damien arrived. Damien was our neighbor. 27 years old, lived with his Aunt Margaret in the house directly across the street. He'd moved in about a year ago to be closer to the city. He was trying to make it as a model, doing photo shoots, commercial work, building a portfolio. His aunt owned the house and let him stay rent-free while he got established. He was good-looking. Really good-looking. Tall, great features, the kind of natural looks that photographs well. He was also a literature major, just like Natalie. They'd bonded immediately over books and poetry. She'd started bringing him food, inviting him to dinner. They'd spend hours talking about authors I'd never heard of. I'd never minded. I'd trusted both of them completely. I'd been glad Natalie had someone to talk to about that stuff. But when Damien walked through our door that Saturday, I noticed something strange. Natalie's whole demeanor changed. With everyone else, she'd been warm and enthusiastic. Hugging them, thanking them for coming, showing off her tiny baby bump. She'd practically jumped on her sister. She'd held her mother's hands while they both cried happy tears. But with Damien? She gave him a quick, awkward side hug and immediately turned away. And for the rest of the party, 3 full hours, I didn't see them exchange more than a few words. They didn't seek each other out. They didn't fall into their usual animated book discussions. They seemed to actively avoid each other. And that's when I knew. If they'd been acting normal, chatting, laughing, being friendly, I wouldn't have thought twice. But this deliberate distance? This careful avoidance? This was 2 people working very hard to look unconnected. I excused myself to use the bathroom. Instead, I went to our bedroom and pulled out my phone. 6 months ago, after some break-ins in the neighborhood, I'd installed security cameras. Front door, driveway, back door. The app let me review footage going back 60 days. I sat on the edge of our bed and started scrolling through the driveway camera. I went to daytime hours, times when I'd be at work. Last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Nothing unusual. I kept scrolling back. Then I saw it. Damien's car pulling into our driveway at 10:30 on a Thursday morning. The timestamp showed he stayed until 2:15. Nearly 4 hours. I checked the previous week. Same thing, Tuesday and Thursday. Hours-long visits while I was at work. I scrolled back further. It went back months. Multiple times a week, Damien had been coming to my house, staying for hours. My hands were shaking. I took screenshots, uploaded them to cloud storage, then cleared my recent apps and went back to the party. For the rest of the evening, I was the perfect host. I smiled for photos. I talked about baby names. I put my hand on Natalie's stomach and joked about whether we were having a boy or girl. And I watched Damien carefully avoid looking at her. After everyone left, Natalie and I cleaned up. She was glowing, talking about how perfectly everything had gone. I agreed with everything she said. That night, she fell asleep happy. And I lay awake planning my next move. I needed more than camera footage. I needed definitive proof. And I needed to understand what Natalie's endgame was. The next morning, while Natalie was in the shower, I checked her phone. She'd left it on the counter, unlocked. I went through her messages quickly. Nothing. No texts to or from Damien. No suspicious conversations. Everything looked normal. Which meant she was being careful. Which meant she was communicating some other way. Over the next few days, I became methodical. I'm a financial analyst, I know how to find patterns in data. So I started analyzing our financial records. I logged into our credit card accounts and exported everything into a spreadsheet. Every transaction from the past year. I started categorizing them, looking for anomalies. Restaurant charges during work hours. Natalie had told me these were lunches with her friend Sarah. But the restaurants were 30 miles away, in neighborhoods near where Damien did photo shoots. I cross-referenced the dates with my security footage. Every restaurant charge corresponded to a day when Damien had been at our house first. Hotel charges. Not frequent, but regular. One every few weeks. Natalie had said these were writer's retreat weekends. She was working on her novel and wanted quiet time. I'd encouraged it, thought it was great she was pursuing her passion. But now I looked at the hotels. They weren't retreat centers. They were mid-range chains off highways. Flower shop charges. I'd never received flowers from Natalie. So who were they for? Uber receipts to addresses I didn't recognize. I looked them up. One was near Damien's photo shoot locations. Another was a storage facility. I put everything in my spreadsheet. Color-coded it. Cross-referenced it with camera timestamps. Then I pulled our cell phone records online. Hundreds of calls and texts between Natalie's number and one I didn't recognize. I reverse-looked it up. Registered to Damien Martinez. The picture was crystal clear. This affair had been going on for at least 8 months. It was regular, frequent, calculated. And she'd been using my money to fund it. Hotel rooms on our credit card. Ubers on our account. Restaurant meals I was paying for. But I still didn't know the endgame. Why tell me she was pregnant? Why not just leave? About 3 weeks after the party, I found out. I came home early from work one day. I'd told Natalie I'd be late, but a meeting got cancelled. When I pulled into our driveway, Damien's car was there. I sat there deciding what to do. I didn't want to confront them yet. I needed more information. So I waited. 20 minutes later, Damien came out. He looked stressed, upset even. He got in his car and drove away without looking back. I waited another 10 minutes, then went inside. Natalie was on the couch with her laptop. When I walked in, she jumped and closed it quickly. Hey! Her voice was too bright. I thought you had a late meeting. Got cancelled, I said casually. Everything okay? You seem jumpy. No, I'm fine. Just working on my novel. You know how it is when you're in the zone. Her novel. Right. I went upstairs to change. When I heard the shower start, I went back down to her laptop. It was closed but not locked. I opened it. Still logged in. And on the screen was an email account I didn't recognize. Not her regular one. A different account entirely. My heart pounded as I clicked to the sent folder. Hundreds of emails. To and from Damien. I didn't have time to read them all. The shower would run maybe 10 more minutes. So I pulled out my phone and started photographing the screen. Fast, efficient. The most recent emails first. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Today was amazing. I love you so much. I know this is complicated, but we'll figure it out. Then, about the pregnancy. I told him today. He believes it's his. This is really happening. Are you sure about this? What if he finds out? He won't. He thinks he's finally going to be a dad. He's completely clueless. My jaw clenched. I kept photographing. Then I found the one that made everything clear. I talked to my friend Rebecca, she's a divorce attorney. She says with a baby involved, I can get both alimony and child support. Especially since I gave up my career for the marriage. Once the baby's born and everything's settled, we can be together. We'll have enough money to get you through until your modeling career takes off. I stared at the screen. This wasn't just an affair. This was a con. She'd deliberately gotten pregnant with Damien's baby, planning to pass it off as mine, then divorce me and collect alimony and child support. Money to fund both their lives while Damien tried to make it as a model. The shower stopped. I had maybe 2 minutes. I kept photographing. Plans about waiting a few months after the baby was born before filing. Discussion about how much she thought she could get in a settlement. Damien's concerns about ethics, and Natalie reassuring him I owed her for wasting years of her life. I found emails where she was documenting fake incidents. Claiming I'd said things I never said, done things I never did. Building a case for emotional abuse. All lies. All manufactured to support her divorce filing. I heard the bathroom door open. I took 3 more quick photos, closed the laptop exactly how I'd found it, and moved silently upstairs. By the time Natalie came out in her robe, I was sitting on the bed looking at my phone like I'd been checking email. You didn't change, she said. Got distracted by work. Doing it now. I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and immediately uploaded all the photos to cloud storage. Then forwarded them to a private email. Then backed them up to a USB drive. Natalie had just handed me everything I needed to destroy her plan completely. That night, lying beside her, I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. She wanted to play this out for 9 months? Fine. I'd play along. I'd be the perfect husband, the excited father-to-be. I'd let her think everything was going according to plan. And then, when she least expected it, I'd detonate the bomb. Over the following weeks, I became 2 people. During the day, I was the devoted husband. I went to every prenatal appointment. I held Natalie's hand during ultrasounds. I asked doctors about fetal development and vitamins. I posted on social media about how blessed I was. I sent flowers with cards saying, "To the mother of my child." I kept copies of everything. I was building my own case. A counter-narrative. When this went to court, I wanted every judge to see I'd been the perfect husband. That I'd believed this baby was mine. That I'd done everything right. Meanwhile, I documented everything. I kept a daily journal with timestamps. I recorded our conversations. My state had one-party consent laws. Every time Natalie called me loving names, talked about our baby, thanked me for being supportive, I captured it. I also protected my assets. I opened a separate account Natalie didn't know about. Bonuses went there instead of our joint account. I moved investments to my name only. I updated beneficiaries. Small moves that would matter during divorce. At month 4, I did something else. I started befriending Damien's Aunt Margaret. I helped with her yard work, fixed things around her house, brought over leftovers. Just being a good neighbor. And I learned things. Margaret would talk about Damien, how stressed he seemed lately, always on his phone. I think something big is coming up with his career, she'd say. He keeps talking about changes. She thought he was about to get his modeling break. She had no idea that change was moving in with my wife using my money. Once Margaret mentioned Damien had been talking about moving out, getting his own place. I'll miss him, she said, but I'm happy he's doing well enough to afford it. I smiled and nodded, thinking about how Damien was counting on my child support to fund that place. At month 6, I consulted with the best divorce attorney in the city. I showed her everything, medical proof of sterility, camera footage, financial records, the emails, my timeline. This is one of the clearest cases of fraud I've ever seen, she said. You won't pay a dime. I want to file now, I said. But don't serve them yet. When do you want to serve? At the hospital. During labor. She was quiet. Then nodded. Legally sound. Tactically effective. But Albert, are you sure about the timing? She had 9 months to come clean, I said. She chose to lie every single day. So yes, I'm sure. We filed at month 8. The papers sat ready, waiting. Month 9 arrived. Natalie was due any day. Her hospital bag was packed. The nursery was ready. She was excited, nervous, calling her mom constantly. I love you so much, she'd say. I'm so glad you'll be there. I couldn't do this without you. And I'd tell her I loved her too, that I'd be right there. Every word a performance. The call came at 2 in the morning on a Wednesday. Albert, Natalie said, her voice tight. It's time. Contractions. We need to go. I drove her to the hospital. The drive was quiet except for her breathing through contractions. Inside, my heart pounded. They got her into a delivery room quickly. Hooked up to monitors. Her parents were an hour away. For now, it was just us. A nurse checked her vitals. 7 centimeters. Won't be long. You're doing great. Then she left. Natalie reached for my hand. Pain in her face, but trust in her eyes. Complete trust. She believed I was about to become a father. She believed her plan had worked. I pulled my hand away gently and reached for my bag. Pulled out my tablet. "Natalie," I said calmly. "Before our baby arrives, I want to tell you about something I've been working on for 9 months." She looked confused, breathing through a contraction. "What do you mean?" "I mean this." I turned the tablet screen toward her. "I've been building a timeline. I think you need to see it." On the screen was my spreadsheet. Every hotel charge, every restaurant, every Uber, every phone call. Color-coded, cross-referenced, documented. Her face went white. Actually white. I watched the blood drain as she scrolled with shaking fingers. "You see this charge?" I pointed. $247 at the Riverside Hotel on April 15th. "You told me it was a writer's retreat. But look at this." I swiped to camera footage. Damien's car at our house that morning. You both left. 4 hours later, this hotel charge. Albert, I'm not done. Phone records next. 347 calls between your number and Damien's over 10 months. Thousands of texts. All while you told me you were working on your novel, having lunch with friends. Another contraction. She gasped, gripped the rail. I didn't stop. And here's my favorite. The email screenshots. Your secret account. Where you and Damien planned this. How clueless I was, how easy it would be, how much money you'd get. I watched realization slam into her. Her mouth opened, no sound came out. He thinks he's finally going to be a dad. He's completely clueless, I read. That hurt. But this? Another swipe. I can get both alimony and child support. We'll have enough money for both of us. That made me angry. When did you, how long? Since before you told me you were pregnant. I pulled out medical records, placed them on her lap. These are from 10 months ago. My fertility test results. I'm completely sterile. 0 chance I'm the father. Which means you've been lying for 9 months. The monitor beeped faster. A nurse looked in. Everything okay? Fine, I said calmly. Just talking. She left hesitantly. Natalie stared at me, tears streaming. You've known the whole time? Every appointment, every moment, I confirmed. Every vitamin. Every ultrasound. Every social media post about becoming a father. I knew the baby wasn't mine. I knew your plan. And I let you believe you'd gotten away with it. I pulled out divorce papers. Filed 3 weeks ago. Serving them now. Marriage over. And you're not getting a dime. I have 9 months of evidence showing premeditated fraud. Another contraction, stronger. She was crying, in labor, her world collapsing. How could you, she gasped. How could you stay? How could I? I stood. How could you? You cheated. Got pregnant with another man's child. Planned to trick me into raising it while bleeding me dry. Documented fake abuse. Used MY money for your affair. And you're asking how I could be deceptive? I picked up my bag. Your parents will be here soon. But there's someone else who should be here. I pulled out my phone, dialed Damien. Hello? Groggy voice. Damien, it's Albert. Natalie's in labor at St. Mary's Hospital. You should get here. You're the father, after all. What? Wait. I hung up. Turned the phone off. I looked at Natalie one last time. I hope delivery goes well. But I won't be here for it. Good luck with everything. And I walked out. The hallway was bright. My legs shook. Heart racing. But I kept walking. Through the ward, down the elevator, through the lobby, to the parking lot. I got in my car and sat. 9 months. And it was done. I called my parents. It's done. I'm coming over. We're here, my dad said. Christopher's here too. Come home. I drove away from the hospital, away from Natalie, away from the lie. Behind me, chaos was probably unfolding. Her parents arriving. Damien showing up confused. Natalie trying to explain. But that wasn't my problem anymore. At my parents' house, they were waiting. Mom hugged me. Dad put his hand on my shoulder. Christopher offered a beer. They didn't ask questions. Just let me sit there, processing. You okay? Christopher finally asked. I don't know, I said honestly. I feel like I just finished a marathon. Or woke from a nightmare. You did what you had to do, Dad said. Now you move forward. Eventually I turned my phone back on. 58 missed calls. 127 texts. I scrolled without reading most. But one voicemail caught my attention. George, Natalie's father. His voice shook with rage. Albert, I don't know what's going on, but leaving Natalie during labor is unforgivable. I don't care what problems you're having. Call me back immediately. I looked at my phone for a long moment. Then opened email, attached every piece of evidence, spreadsheet, camera footage, email screenshots, medical records, phone records, everything, and sent it to George. Subject line, the truth. Then I muted my phone and tried to sleep. I was exhausted. 9 months of carrying this secret, living this lie. I fell asleep on my parents' couch and slept harder than I had in months. When I woke, it was early afternoon. More missed calls, but one new voicemail from George. His voice completely different this time. Broken. Albert, I don't even know what to say. I just read everything. Saw everything. I'm so sorry. So sorry for what she did. I didn't know. I had no idea. Please call me when you're ready. I owe you an apology. And I want you to know, I've told Natalie she's not welcome at our house until she owns up to what she's done. I'm not supporting her lies. I'm so sorry, son. I listened 3 times. After months of feeling like the bad guy, hearing George validate my side meant everything. I actually felt tears coming. Mom saw me getting emotional. What is it? Natalie's dad, I said. He apologized. Said he's cutting her off. Good, she said firmly. She doesn't deserve support. Over the next 2 weeks, I stayed with my parents. Took time off work. Left my phone on but stopped reading most messages. I responded to a few, close friends, Christopher, George. Through mutual connections, I heard bits and pieces. Natalie delivered a healthy baby boy. Damien had shown up and initially tried to step up. Was there for delivery, cut the cord, held his son. But reality was setting in. Damien made maybe $1,500 a month from modeling. Nowhere near enough for himself, a partner, and a newborn. Natalie had no job, no income, no savings. Hospital bills alone were thousands. They moved into Damien's aunt's house temporarily. Margaret hadn't signed up for a baby in her house. And she was learning what her nephew had done. Natalie tried texting, calling me. I didn't respond. What was there to say? My divorce lawyer moved forward aggressively. Natalie hired an attorney, not her friend Rebecca, who wanted nothing to do with this once she saw my evidence. Natalie's strategy was predictable. She claimed she deserved alimony for giving up her career. My lawyer showed quitting had been her choice, that I'd encouraged her to keep working, that I'd supported her pursuits. She argued I should pay child support because I'd acted as father during pregnancy. My lawyer presented medical evidence showing I knew I was sterile before she announced pregnancy, combined with timeline showing I'd discovered her affair early. Simple argument, you can't claim someone acted as father when they knew from day one the child wasn't theirs. She claimed I'd been emotionally abusive. My lawyer produced recordings of Natalie calling me loving names, thanking me for support, posting about what a great husband I was. My journal showing I was at work during times she claimed abuse. Testimony from coworkers and friends about how devoted I seemed. Every angle Natalie tried, we countered. Every lie, we had evidence disproving. The judge was openly disapproving. In one hearing, he stopped Natalie's lawyer mid-argument. Counselor, your client committed adultery, used marital funds for the affair, deliberately became pregnant with another man's child, and attempted to defraud her husband. What exactly is your legal theory for why she deserves anything? The lawyer had no answer. 3 weeks into proceedings, I heard things were falling apart between Natalie and Damien. Financial pressure crushing them. Baby crying constantly. Margaret fed up. Then, 1 month after the baby was born, Margaret texted me. I'm so sorry for what my nephew did. I had no idea. He's moving out tomorrow. I learned later Damien had cracked. Reality of fatherhood plus financial stress plus guilt was too much. He told Natalie he couldn't do it. Was moving back to his parents' house in another state. He was sorry, but done. Just like that, the man Natalie destroyed her marriage for walked away. She texted me that night. Damien left. I have nothing. I'm so sorry for everything. Please. Can we just talk? I didn't respond. Her parents took her in. George had been true to his word, he'd cut her off financially in terms of lifestyle, but wouldn't let his daughter and grandson be homeless. She moved back into her childhood bedroom with a newborn. And she got a job. For the first time in 2 years, Natalie went back to work. Not in a gallery. Not anything with her literature degree. A bookstore. $12 an hour. The irony wasn't lost. The literature major who'd looked down on regular jobs, who'd insisted on staying home to work on her novel, was now in retail. The woman who'd planned to live on my alimony and child support was counting pennies for diapers. The divorce was finalized 3 months after the baby was born. Clean break. No alimony. No child support. The judge commended my lawyer's documentation and told Natalie's lawyer he hoped his client learned something. I signed papers in my lawyer's office. Natalie signed in hers. We didn't see each other. And just like that, it was over. I moved to a new apartment. Not our old house, too many memories. Sold it, split proceeds per our prenup. Fresh start somewhere new. George called occasionally those first months. Updates I didn't ask for. Natalie struggling but managing. Working full-time, living at home, taking care of the baby. Damien signed away parental rights from his new state, wanted nothing to do with the child. George and Linda helped with childcare while Natalie worked. She asks about you sometimes, George said once. Wonders how you're doing. I hope she's okay, I said. And I meant it. Not because I forgave her or wanted her back, but because there was a kid who didn't ask for this. But I don't want contact. I understand, George said. For what it's worth, what she did was unforgivable. And I tell her that. 6 months after the divorce, I started therapy. I needed to process everything: betrayal, the year of abuse, 9 months of pretending, satisfaction and guilt about how I handled it. My therapist asked once, "Do you regret the timing? Telling her during labor?" I thought about it. Really thought. No, I said finally. She had 9 months to come clean. Could have told me the truth any time. Instead, she doubled down every day. Documented fake abuse. Planned to destroy me financially. Why did she deserve gentle? I'm not asking if she deserved it, the therapist said. I'm asking if you regret it. How you feel now. I sat with that. I don't regret it. It was dramatic, harsh. But it was also the moment her lies stopped working, her planning fell apart, she had to face reality. And I needed that. Needed to take back control. The therapist nodded. As long as you're at peace. And I am. At peace. Would I have done things differently if I could go back? Maybe. But I can't. I can only move forward. I started dating again, casually. Nothing serious, I'm not ready. But learning to trust again, believe not everyone hides secrets and plots betrayals. It's a process. I reconnected with old friends lost during marriage. Started hobbies. Traveled. Focused on career. Got promoted. Turns out when you're not carrying a massive secret and living a lie, you focus better. People ask me sometimes, how do you feel about it now? Answer's always the same. I feel free. Free of a marriage built on lies. Free of someone who saw me as a meal ticket. Free of emotional abuse, manipulation, calculated cruelty. Free to build a life that's actually mine. Do I feel bad Natalie's struggling? A little. Nobody wants to see someone working retail at 33, living with parents. But she made her choices. Chose the affair. Chose to get pregnant with Damien's baby. Chose to trap me. Chose to lie for 9 months straight. Every one was her choice. Now she lives with consequences. Damien signed away rights and disappeared. Wanted the fantasy, beautiful wife, comfortable life funded by someone else, but not the reality of fatherhood. He ran. I'm not surprised. People willing to participate in fraud aren't usually the type to step up when things get hard. The baby, from what I hear, is healthy and happy. George and Linda adore him. Natalie's apparently a good mother. I hope that's true. The kid deserves at least that. As for me? I'm rebuilding. Learning who I am outside that marriage, outside that betrayal. Learning to trust my judgment, believe in people, open up to possibilities. Someone asked recently if I'd ever forgive Natalie. I've thought about it a lot. My answer, I don't need to forgive her. Forgiveness is for when someone's genuinely changed, tried to make amends, shown they understand what they did wrong. Forgiveness is a gift given when earned. Natalie hasn't earned it. And I don't need to give it for my peace. I'm not carrying anger or resentment. Not thinking about her constantly or wishing her ill. I'm just moving on. Living my life. And that's enough. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. Comment your story because knowing you're not alone makes a difference. Subscribe for more stories. Thanks for watching.